The BMW E36 M3 had speed, style, and soul. When it dropped in 1992, it marked a turning point for the M3. This was no longer a homologation special, it was a proper high-performance road car with real pedigree. In this episode, we meet with the owner of an immaculate techno-violet E36 M3 Evo and chat with Dan from Munich Legends, the UK's leading independent BMW dealership.
I came to BMW purely as a punter, if you like, purely as a driver. And I'd been Mercedes before that and various other cars. And it was an epiphany for me. As soon as I got behind the wheel of a BMW, I got it.
So what's under the hood? A 3-litre straight-six BMW's S50 engine, pushing out 286 horsepower. The Evo bumped that to 3.2 litres and 321 horsepower, replacing the 5-speed gearbox with a 6-speed.
The 6-cylinder straight-six, it's like the car likes to be revved. When you really do give it a tickle, it wants to go and ends the 5, 6, 7,000 RPM range. It's something special, to be honest.
No paddles, no modes, no gimmicks, just you, the clutch, and a direct connection to the road. And honestly, that's where the E36 M3 really came alive.
The characteristics that stand out for me for the S50 engine is it feels now quite old school. You need to work it. It needs to be revved. And it's very raw. And the powers, is what a lot of that original M-Power fan club really liked about M-Power cars, was that all the power's at the top end, and it felt like you could just stay there and just keep burying your foot, and it would just keep revving and it would just keep going. And you can take it to the Nürburgring still now, and you can drive it flat out on the red line all day for 3 days in a row. As long as you've got the oil up to the right temperature, it doesn't mind. And of course, it's the last of the cars with mechanical throttles and all of those things that the aficionados wanted. That it ended with the E36 M3. We didn't know that at the time, but it was pretty raw and it was pretty powerful, and it was, I think, probably quite the potential to be a widow maker anyway. I don't know how many widows were made, but we probably want to cut that.
At 1,460 kilos, it felt light on its feet, and with a near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution, every corner felt intuitive. Up front, an aluminium subframe added stiffness without the weight. Out back, a multi-link suspension system setup kept it planted, even under pressure. It could dance through a mountain pass and still feel solid at autobahn speeds. Inside, the distinct Vader seats held you in place, analog gauges, a small diameter steering wheel, no screens, no clutter, just the essentials.
A nice part of the E36 M3 is the Vader seats. I like that. I'm assuming it's because it looks like Darth Vader, his mask. But yeah, they're a really iconic part of the E36 M3, and still, I'd probably say one of the nicest seats going around.
So driving an E36 M3 is very involving, and again, that's what people like, and this is why people go back to these cars, because it demands more of you, and it gives you more when you produce the goods. So it does feel like there's a bit more of a partnership between you and the car, and you're much more in control because you've got a very mechanical throttle. You put your foot on the pedal, and a little wire pulls a little lever on top of the engine and makes it go. And that is a very different feeling from fly-by-wire, which of course the next generation took on. So I think whether it felt like that in the day or not, I can't tell you, because at the time we didn't have anything to compare it to. I guess compared to an E30, it's going to feel very much a completely new car, which it was, from top to bottom. So it's going to feel at least one whole generation on. In fact, it's going to feel like a lifetime ahead of an E30.
The brakes were beefed up too, ventilated discs and stronger calipers to take real track abuse. This was the first M3 that felt like a complete package, refined, fast and usable. This wasn't just a 3 Series with more power, it was re-engineered from the ground up, with a reinforced chassis, tuned suspension geometry and real motorsport DNA baked in.
The E36 really represents a very particular time where BMW had really started to conquer the world, and put themselves at the forefront of performance motoring for effectively for the average man. They're not supercar money, but they're supercar capable. And the E36 went on from where the E30 had been. It was less about homologating a car. It was more about making a car that would sell. And so they added a lot of trim to it. They added a lot of luxury, but also they worked very hard to make it and continue with that feel of a driver's car. At the time, it was caught up in the 90s rush of Cool Britannia, and you see a lot of celebrities, famously David Beckham, who was huge at the time, obviously driving an E36 M3, and it just had that cachet. The convertibles. If you went down to Brighton on a sunny Saturday morning, there'd be all the rich kids down there posing with their drop tops.
The M3 Evo was the one to have. I wouldn't know what to replace it with, to be honest. We'll see. My son wants it, but we'll see. He's only 11.
Hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and what's your favourite 90s Beamer? Let me know in the comments. Thanks to Influx Insurance for making this video possible and for supporting our dive into cars that made the 90s. Head over to adrianflux.co.uk for a quote, especially if you're driving a classic or modified car. Thanks for watching.